Hi everybody, I'm Brandon Jew from Mr. JIU'S in Chinatown, San Francisco. We're here at the Ferry building. We're at the Lonely Mountain Farm stand. It's kind of a late summer right now, and we're looking for a bunch of beans that Kenny's growing. His stuff is, to me, one of the best of all of the farmers in the market. And you can tell by his stand. It's like full of just amazing things. And when I come here, I usually look for ingredients that already inspire me. Shelling beans is one of those things that when they're in season, I'm trying to get as many of them as possible. The way that I like to think about shelling beans is the way I like to think about fruit. When you get dried fruit, it's a different product. It changes, and there's some great things about how it's preserved for that reason. When you get a fresh shell bean, it is a different product in my mind. It's the sweetness, the creaminess, the color. All those things are more vibrant, and so when you come, look for these shell beans when you come to the market. You might not think there's Chinese recipes that you can use for shell beans, but I'm gonna go over a couple ways that we use shell beans in our kitchen in the summer. I believe in shopping at the farmers market because of the relationships that you can build with the farmers. I have a ton of questions all the time, and the person that is gonna be able to actually answer those is the farmer. And when you start to really see that you can support people and your friends directly by purchasing their products and then serving their food, it makes you as a chef feel like you're part of a bigger system. And when you really believe that, then you start to understand the relationship that you have with bringing a farmer's food to a customer's plate.
Hi, I'm Kenny Baker. Me and my wife have Lonely Mountain Farm, and we're located in Santa Cruz, California. We grow on about 10 acres, first generation family-owned organic farm.
How many shell beans do you have?
Every year our crop plan changes a little bit because beans are such a labor-intensive crop to pick for us. But right now, this year, we're growing 5 kinds of beans.
Wow.
3 of them being like fresh eating green beans, and Haricot Verts. We got purple and a green, and then we grow the dragon tongues, which you love, which is kind of like a flat bean, similar to like a romano, I guess you would say, which is really nice. We have our fillets, which are stringless and snappy and delicious. The flat ones are nice. Maybe they pick up a little sauce when you saute them with things. And then the shelling beans that we grow are cranberry shelling beans and the cannellinis. And we just found that those were most readily accessible to people in recipes, and they're so nice. You just pop them open when they're in season and nice and plump, and they're really easy to cook.
Yeah. Hey everybody, we're here with some beans. I want to talk you guys through the kinds of beans that you'll find here at the farmers market and the differences of them. This is the Blue Lake bean. It's considered a green bean along with some of the other beans that you find here, like what Kenny has, the Haricot Verts that he grows in the purple ones and the green ones. And all you really want to do is clean this top off. And after this, if you follow this line, you will actually find that there's beans inside here as well. See this little bean right here. So all of these beans have beans inside them. You can think of it as like there's some beans that you will eat the outside and the inside, and some beans that you will only eat the inside. This is a romano bean. It's also a bean that you would eat the outside and inside, and you can already see these indentions or these kind of these like elevated parts here, you can see the bean already inside here. That would be inside this Romano bean, and these are really like a meaty bean. It really can handle some braising, even be seared and then braised. But this is a really great bean to put in soups and to braises. This is a fava bean, and fava beans are kind of interesting because fava beans in the beginning of the season, you will be able to actually eat the outside of the fava beans. The shells are actually really tasty and edible, but towards the end of the season, like right now, you would want to shell these, right? And most of the time, you would take this, blanch it, and then shell it one more time, and you will find underneath here is your fava bean. And these just split open like that, and this is your fava bean. So that's a fava bean. These are butter beans. So butter beans, now we're on this spectrum. This is now a bean that you would not eat the outside. You would only eat the inside. And these beans, you can see, look more like probably the kind of beans you would find in a pantry. But these are fresh. You wouldn't need to soak these, and you really only need to cook them probably about half the amount of time that you would for a dried bean. So those are really beautiful, big and plump. All of these beans actually are from Yakupi. They're in Half Moon Bay, and now we're finally on to the beans we picked up from Kenny at Lonely Mountain, and you can see these are already like just visually very stunning. He said that this variety name is Tongue of Fire, and it's classified as a cranberry bean. But you would just open these all up, and you can find they're just nicely nestled in this little velour kind of couch here, all nice and snug. So you would just take all these out, and this is like a really fun exercise because these are very durable. So this is not a lot of tender work here. Like some of these green beans, the way you snap them and the way that you even cut them will really kind of change the way you experience them when you eat them. These, they're a little, they're just sturdier. So a lot of people can help you do this prep. What I usually do is I just rinse them, just because if there's any kind of debris or anything that would float to the top or maybe even float to the bottom, you want to just separate those things before you cook them. And what I usually do is I always cook my beans separate from whatever it ends up going into, mainly because I want to cook these really perfectly. And to me, a perfectly cooked bean is a bean that is really creamy. There's not any of the starch left inside the bean, and you can see that if you bit into the bean. You could actually see if there's any starch left that was uncooked. And then the other thing is that it hasn't bursted. If you cook these very gently, they will not, they'll keep their shape and they won't burst. And when they burst, what happens is the skin kind of, you kind of lose the texture of the beans kind of like popping in your mouth. And that's it's a pretty pleasurable experience. So you want to be able to keep that for your diners. So cooking it really low for me is the way that I usually do it. I start with really nice olive oil. I bloom aromatics in there, bay leaf, garlic, some harder herbs like thyme or rosemary is good in that. Season the oil, and then I put these beans in that oil, kind of coat them in that aromatic oil, and then I put water on top of that. And what you're kind of shooting for, the amount of water, is basically it's going to live in that water, and the water is you want it to be always covering the beans, but almost like barely covering. So it's like they're submerged, but there's not much more water above that. So when you first cook it, I would say a general like 1 inch above the top of the bean is where you would want to start water, and then bring it up to a simmer, and then really control that simmer as you're going, and set a timer. Set like a 15-minute timer, and then just taste one, or just open one up and see where you're at. If it's fully cooked, then just turn it down, and then you're ready to kind of start adding it to any of these recipes that you want to.